Middle school has to be the most awkward time for kids. I mean, everything is such a big deal to them. Like, take this boy, for example. His name is Anthony. Anthony's an 8th grader who was at school one day when his teacher asked him to take off his hat. See, it's against school policy to be wearing a hat. Anthony refuses to remove his hat. So the teacher pauses, looks at Anthony, and says, "Anthony, take the hat off now." Anthony simply replies, "Nah, I'm good." This is in the middle of class, so I can imagine the other kids being like, The teacher, who's most likely upset at this point, reminds Anthony that wearing a hat is against school policy. To which Anthony replies, "I don't care about no school policy. This hat ain't coming off." So the teacher did what most teachers do when black boys aren't immediately compliant. She kicked him out of class and called for the dean to come in and handle the situation. She was not trying to deal with this boy. I suppose the hope was that the boy would get indoor suspension or detention, or maybe she just wanted to get him out of her sight. So for 30 minutes, the dean is there talking with Anthony, telling him to take the hat off, and for 30 minutes, Anthony's refusing. The dean is like, "Why won't you take the hat off?" And Anthony's like, "Because I said so, that's why." The dean says, "Well, if you aren't gonna follow school policy, we're going to have to punish you." Anthony's like, "So, do what y'all wanna do." So the dean sends Anthony to the principal's office, as the principal is the one who will determine his punishment. So Anthony ends up in the office of this man, Principal Smith. So he's sitting there, and Principal Smith is like, "All right, bro, what's up? Why are you being so defiant to everybody?" Anthony just shrugs. But instead of getting upset, Principal Smith gets curious. So he tells Anthony, "So you're willing to get indoor suspension for simply not taking off your hat?" Anthony responds like, "I guess so." The principal knew something wasn't right, so he kept pressing Anthony to tell him what's going on with him. The conversation stops being about this hat Anthony refuses to remove and starts becoming about Anthony's emotional well-being. Tell me why. Anthony finally revealed to Principal Smith why he won't take off the hat. It's because his lineup got messed up. Apparently, he had went to a new barber and they jacked him up. And Principal Smith's like, "Bro, it can't be that bad. Take off the hat and let me see. Let me just see it." Anthony takes off the hat and the principal looks at his lineup and jumps back. And is like, "Damn, boy, all right, put the hat back on." Nah, I'm just joking. The principal really didn't think the lineup was that big of a deal, but it was a little off, I guess. But remember, this is a middle schooler, so everything is such a huge deal. That's when the principal came up with a solution. He tells Anthony that he will personally redo his lineup and have him looking fresh out here. Anthony was, of course, skeptical, but the principal had actually been cutting hair on the side ever since he himself was a teen. He showed Anthony some pictures of some cuts he's done to kind of prove to him that he knows what he's doing. He then called Anthony's mom to get her consent and then drove home in the snow to get his clippers. He came back, fixed the boys' lineup, and Anthony's mood immediately improved. He apologized and went back to class. See, the principal understood the cultural implications of a boy that age coming to school with a jacked up hairline and empathized with it. Shout out to Principal Smith. Moral of the story, sometimes kids really need that extra little bit of empathy, especially when you don't feel like doing it.
I felt like this was a great opportunity for, I had a skill set that I could, help this young man with this problem instead of calling his father to come get him or putting him in school suspension. And so that is what we did.